It's official. Mike Woodson out as Indiana's basketball coach.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. This is a bonus instant reaction episode of Locked On Hoosiers with the breaking news that Mike Woodson is out as the Indiana head coach. He will not return for a fifth season in Bloomington. This is going to be more of an instant reaction, maybe even an overreaction or two, with a lot more full breakdown on a full episode on tomorrow's Locked On Hoosiers with coaching candidates, things like that. Just returning from calling some high school basketball when the news broke, Mike Woodson will not return as the head coach for Indiana for his fifth year. And look, what seemed like a home run hire at the time in an era of Indiana basketball that had seen some of the darkest days ever, right? It was several coaches, couldn't get anything going. You had some issues, you had some problems, you can't win games. And it was, hey, let's go get the former player. Let's go get a guy who was beloved by so many Indiana fans as a player, who was beloved by Bob Knight, a guy that just made sense. First 2 years, made the NCAA tournament. All right, that's fine. Kind of disappointing end in those tournaments, but at least you got there. And then when you had Trace Jackson Davis leave your program, straight down. You missed the NCAA tournament with a first-round pick in Khalil Ware, and you're well on your way to missing the NCAA tournament this year with the best transfer portal class and by far the best NIL money, the best NIL pot in the Big Ten. You're well on your way to missing the NCAA tournament again this year. It quickly turned into a nightmare. And for a lot of Indiana fans, that nightmare has come to an end. Mike Woodson was reported first by Pete Thamel on ESPN. It is everywhere now. He will not return as the head coach at Indiana. And we're going to break down tomorrow on the show so many of the horrific numbers for this program during Mike Woodson's time. The amount of blowout losses, the record in quad one games, the fact that you go on terrible losing streaks, the recruiting woes and failures that he went through at Indiana. I think I speak for most Hoosiers fans when I say I wanted him to be successful. I wanted this to work. I wanted this to be the one. And when he was hired, we wanted that. Everybody wanted this to work because we were so desperate for something, anything to bring Indiana back to relevancy. And it just didn't happen. And when the fans turned on him, he turned on the fans. I talked the other day about how the team completely has given up on him. This is the right move for them to make this announcement and say, hey, the season is not going the way we want it to. Mike Woodson is done as the Indiana head coach. My question, though, is why wait? Why not just go ahead and do it now? And I know there's money involved. You've got an $8 million buyout. You've got an Indiana legend. And if Indiana fires him, you've got to pay it all. Like, there's a whole lot of logistics here. So maybe they're trying to solve this thing, I guess, nicely is the best way to put it. And maybe Indiana's trying to take care of Mike Woodson. Maybe Mike Woodson's trying to take care of Indiana. Maybe they don't want to put the fired label on it, if you will. I just don't understand why you would wait if you're Indiana. Why not just say, hey, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to try and build some momentum. We're going to try and finish out this season and make anything of it. We appreciate your services, but we need to move on. Let's do the mutual parting of ways, is the term they like to use. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to allow him to finish out the season, but that's just me. We asked the question also, now what? What now? What do you do if you're Indiana? How does the rest of the season play out? I'll give my initial thoughts on that right after this on this reaction breaking news episode of the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. This bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. If you're looking for tickets to the next big event, it could be a concert, comedy show, movie, or a sporting event, whatever the case may be, Game Time is the place for you. I'm going to a concert next week. I used Game Time, and I used Game Time picks to do it. what they do is they filter out all the fluff. They show you only the best seats for the best deals and the best price, and you get to pick from those. You don't have to go through and search through hundreds, if not thousands of different tickets. You can do it with the Game Time Pick feature. Also, you pair that with their views from your seat, where it's accurate with every seat in every venue. What you see is what you are going to get. That's the same way with the all-in pricing too. If you toggle that feature, they show your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. If you're ready to take your next event and make it even better, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Today's Locked On Hoosiers bonus episode, a reaction episode of the show, is brought to you by Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded, Prize Picks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least two players' projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Prize Picks even has a free pick for the game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw for 1 yard. Yeah, that's right. You heard that correctly. 1 yard for you to win. Pair that with one more correct pick, and you're cashing out. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's time to run your game. All right, welcome back into this bonus reaction episode of Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on all things Indiana athletics. We post 25 to 30-minute episodes Monday through Friday, including bonus episodes on nights and weekends just like this one. Remember when I tell you every day is to have those notifications turned on? It's for things just like this. As Mike Woodson, it is announced that he will not return as the head coach of Indiana basketball for his 5th year. The 25-26 season will have a new coach on the sidelines for the Indiana Hoosiers. And as I mentioned, coming up on the Friday edition of the show, we will have a full breakdown of this, plus coaches who Indiana can hire, and much more on a full episode. But in this instant reaction, we ask, what now? It just feels kind of weird. Like you almost don't even realize or accept it. I think that's kind of where I'm at, because I've had a couple of hours to sit on this while I was finishing up some broadcasts, and it just doesn't seem real. And it doesn't seem real because he's still going to be on the sidelines. I don't fully understand that part of it. Again, I know there's money and there's logistics and you want to do it the right way, whatever. I mean, if that's how you want to do it, then fine. It doesn't feel over yet. Until the season's over, the Woodson era doesn't feel over. But now you're going to have to go and get more players, because a lot of these guys are going to leave. Whether they're graduating or they transfer out, they're going to go somewhere else. One thing you don't have to worry about is a whole lot of your recruits leaving, because you don't have very many. And so you don't have to worry about that as much, but you got to go hire a coach, got to go make a sexy hire, and you got to get this program going in the right direction. But notice how I said something there. I said you got to go make a sexy hire. Do you? Do you have to make a sexy hire? Do you have to go get the big name, the home run hitter? Or do you go get an up-and-comer and try to make Indiana good for the long term? I think I need to hear some of your comments, and I'll have more on that on tomorrow's episode as well. The nightmare is coming to an end. Mike Woodson no longer will be the head coach at Indiana basketball starting in 25 and 26. Who should the Hoosiers go after? I need to see and want to see your thoughts on this, and your feelings on Mike Woodson, who will no longer be the head coach at Indiana starting next season. This has been a bonus live reaction episode to Locked On Hoosiers, a full episode tomorrow breaking down the news, some of the numbers, and possible replacements for Mike Woodson as the head coach of Indiana basketball. So be sure, if you're listening on audio, to turn on those notifications so you never miss a new episode. Leave us that 5-star review. And for those of you on YouTube, like the video, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I know you got them. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're back tomorrow for a full episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.